Today we're stepping inside the deeply personal New York home of interior designer Karen Asprea, a space she rebuilt during a major life transition. After nearly clearing the apartment a year ago, Karen filled it only with pieces that felt honest, grounding, and connected to the people she loves most. The result is an intimate, authentic home that reflects who she is now and who she's becoming. To watch Karen's full home tour ad-free, where she shares more of her expert design tips, scan the QR code on screen or visit homeworthyplus.com for access to all of our latest episodes ad-free and to receive other exclusive membership perks.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name is Karen. Welcome to my home in Brooklyn, New York.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see. I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hi, my name is Karen Asprea. I'm an interior designer. Welcome to my home in Brooklyn, New York. What drew me to this apartment is that this building is actually owned by one of my clients, somebody that I've worked with in the past. I'm familiar with the building site, and I grew up in Brooklyn, and I'm a Brooklyn girl, so I love to be here. And Gowanus is kind of a new neighborhood for me. I grew up in South Brooklyn in Bay Ridge area, and then I lived in Park Slope for maybe 13 years, and then I moved here to Gowanus. I have been designing multifamily development type projects, rentals and condos both, for many years, and this is actually the first time that I've lived in one myself. And after being here for 2 years, I really understand even my own work better than I did in the past. It's actually really interesting. It was an empty space, and this building has larger apartments than other developments in Brooklyn and New York in general. So this is a 2-bed, 2-bath. The ceilings are 10'6". It's about 1,200 square feet. So there's plenty of space here. This apartment represents a new chapter in my life. I had been with my partner for 10 years and we got divorced last year, and I think that this is a very real thing that happens to a lot of people that doesn't really get talked about very often, but I had to reclaim this space and really make it my own and be, like just a real representation of who I am as a person, as a designer. I incorporated pieces of my friends and my family that didn't exist here before. And I think that this process of letting go and editing your space to capture who you are and who you are going to be in a new chapter of your life is so important. And we don't talk about it enough publicly, but I do talk about it a lot with my clients, because my clients typically come to me when they've had a large life change, or if they're preparing for a big change in their lives around a divorce or a death or a marriage or a birth. And so I pretty much took almost everything out of this apartment about a year ago and replaced it with all of the beautiful things that I love. If I was buying something for a client and I really, really loved it, I bought 2. I bought one for myself. If I went antique shopping with my mom upstate or something, I would, buy things that just spoke to me, and I just filled this space with things that felt natural to me. I took out old family photos and had those framed and hung them. I took out artwork that my cousins made and had those framed and put them on the wall and just really made the space my own space. And I've done it for my clients many, many times, and this is the first time that I've done it for myself, and there is something lovely and therapeutic about it. Welcome to my living room. I really wanted this space to feel more feminine. When I first moved into this apartment, this was just empty. It had like decorator white on the walls, just like really, really basic. And I wanted the space to feel a little bit more feminine and welcoming and inviting. So I bought these cool female line drawings. These are just from like Society 6, which is where I order a lot of my artwork from. It's simple and I can kind of like change it out all the time, which I really love to do. I like to source objects from different places, and that could be Etsy, it could be Artemis. Like, I really like to do high-low. It really just is about how the pieces work together. So this lampshade we ordered from Etsy and just kind of rigged it up with a wood cantilever that we ordered on Amazon. Like, could be really simple. The black lacquered end table is from CB2. It was really important to me that the artwork represented who I am and feels a little bit feminine. I love to order pieces from Society 6 because they're not expensive, the frames look good, and you can kind of like change them out whenever you feel like you need a refresher. So I found these two line drawing prints of like the female form, and I think that feels really nice and soft in this space. The sofa I got from Wayfair. It's super comfy, super deep. I think it's 46 inches deep, which is like an extra deep sofa as far as sofa dimensions go. So this is one of my favorite coffee tables. I've actually had this for a while. It is from DWR. The designer is Pat Kim. It has a beautiful geometric wood base with a glass top. I love to be able to see the carpet through the coffee table, so I love a glass coffee table. One of my favorite objects on this coffee table is a book by my friend Michael Dweck. He's a very well-known photographer out of Montauk, and I would love to show this to you because his work is so gorgeous. So Michael Dweck is known for his beach photography. I mean, he does a lot of different things, but I think that his photography in Montauk is what he's most known for, and he gave me this book, which he's such a sweet guy, and it's just such a beautiful book. I love, love, love his work, and I love to show this book to my clients because just the black and white with the feminine forms in them, it just feels so nice and inviting. I think that the spaces I designed for my clients are a really good mix between using masculine and feminine elements, but the space that I designed for myself in this transition of my own life is much more feminine than I think what my typical design style would be. So like you'll see much softer colors in this space, and to me that just feels more like a sanctuary in this like stage in my life. So when it comes to my artwork, some pieces I like to change out often, and some pieces are really meaningful to me, and that is more what's happening on this wall. This portrait is a self-portrait that my cousin drew, and she has an illness where she is really like bedbound, and she started to draw these very emotional self-portraits, and so I took this one because I loved it so much and had it framed. And then these two little smaller pieces I got on vacation. I was with my best friend, Phoebe Robinson, my dorm neighbor from Pratt Institute turned like best friend over the last 20 years or however many years it is. We went on a trip to Nice and Monaco a couple of years ago, and I got these two little paintings there. And then I got this piece at my absolute favorite city, Barcelona, at the Sagrada Familia, which is like just an amazing experience. If you haven't been, please go there. This is one of my favorite pieces. I love this credenza. This is from CB2. Burl wood is near and dear to my heart. When I was a little kid, my parents had an incredible burl set in the 80s, I think in their bedroom. And I was always so fascinated by like how the wood swirled and it didn't look like regular wood. And then in my adult life realized that it's burl wood. And so I love to add a piece of burl wood into any space because it just adds a little visual texture. It's like a little unexpected. And I really like that this piece has metal banding around the doors, and I love the warmth of the metal on the handles. As I said before, I love to mix pieces that are high and low in the same space. It's really about how they work together. So some of the high pieces that you'll see kind of scattered throughout the house, like this dish from Artemis, I love sourcing from Artemis. They always have interesting shapes, interesting pieces. This tray here is Artemis, and I have a few other pieces throughout the house. If I had a completely unlimited budget, I think that I would change my home every 6 months. Maybe I would go to antique shop in Paris and do an entire house of French, ultra luxury maximal furniture, and then a year after that, I would go to Italy and do something super sleek and modern, super low to the ground. I think an unlimited budget, if I had that scenario, I would love to change it and try out different styles and see how I feel in them. I like to work with clients who are emotionally aware because their awareness of their emotional state and how they want to feel and how they live their lives really informs how we design their spaces. So I don't really need clients to guide me when it comes to aesthetics. One of my favorite things about my bar is my little collection of Golden Girls wine and shot glasses. When I was a kid, I watched more Golden Girls than probably is normal, and it was one of my favorite TV shows. So people who know me well know that, and I've been gifted many Golden Girls trinkets over the years. I really love how much space and light this apartment gets. 1,200 square feet for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath is pretty large when it comes to New York City rental properties. We do have a kitchen here, but I haven't really done much to it. Next time, we'll take a tour of the kitchen. This apartment is in Gowanus, Brooklyn. This area was really not known for its beauty or charm for a very long time, up until the last maybe 15 years when developers started to change it was largely commercial. So they had rezoned a lot of this area of Brooklyn from commercial to residential, and it's becoming kind of a hot spot in Brooklyn right now. So we are right next to Cobble Hill area, there's Court Street, there's Smith Street, and all of the best restaurants and bars and shopping are on those 2 streets between where we are and Atlantic Avenue. So I fell in love with this area of Brooklyn, and I think you're going to be hearing more about it because there's so much development happening. Just what I can see out of my own window, there's probably 10 large-scale developments being put up today. So I'm really excited to see what they build. My early career experience is something that I could not replicate under any circumstance. I started working for Kostas Kondylis, who was a well-known Greek architect, in late 2005, early 2006, around there. And he was a developer's architect. He rezoned 6th Avenue up the center of Manhattan so that you could build taller buildings there. He was the architect to some of the largest developer names in the States, such as like the Carlyle Group, the Trump Organization. He designed for Extel related, Sheldon Solo building companies. I mean, these were like the industry leading giants at the time and, still today. So at a very young age of 23 or 24 years old, I found myself in rooms with some of the biggest name developers working on some of the largest projects in Manhattan. And I was getting really like the full scope of what happens, like how the projects get financed, how the zoning is calculated, how that works into the massing of the projects, how the construction budgets work, how the schedules work. And I think that having that like foundational knowledge about like the actual business of the industry and how the money flows through a project is priceless. Like, I don't know any other interior designer, and I'm sure they are out there, who got that type of education. And so today, when I'm working on my clients' private homes or hospitality projects or, you know, luxury condominiums, I'm putting together the emotional experience that I want people to have when they walk into the space, plus the beauty of the materials that we're using to evoke that emotion, plus all of the background knowledge that I'm calculating in my mind about what the contractor is going to say, how much money it's going to cost, how the developer is going to react, and trying to like triangulate my design into that equation. It's actually, like I said, there's like every browser tab in my brain is going full speed all the time. But the end result is usually really well received because we think about everything 10 steps ahead almost because of how I was able to be educated in my early career. Now that we're done with the living room, I'm going to show you my office. So, welcome to my office. So this space I did originally have set up as a guest bedroom, but I really don't need a guest bedroom. There aren't a lot of people that come and stay with me. So I turned this space into a creative space. This is my office and my yoga studio. Sometimes I do yoga in here. I have a little mat back there. I really love this pattern on the wall. I didn't have any pattern on this wall up until earlier this year, but I just really love how it completes the room, and the geometry of the peacock feathers work really, really nicely with the rust color on this velvety chaise. I love the warm walnut up against the geometric black and white. This room just feels very cozy to me. I think the attention to detail is what is my signature as a designer, and the designers that work with me, we always talk about how the little details really affect the design and how it's those elements that make a space feel curated. So just for an example, I love to change out flowers in my house, but I'm not very good at keeping them alive. So I usually opt for pieces that could be pretty when they're alive or when they're dry. Like, I really love these. I don't know what they're called, but the color on these little tiny dried flowers are very similar to the rust color on my chaise lounge, and just the two in front of the black and white geometric wall play so nicely together. It makes the space feel like somebody really put thought into it. I think that it's important, and this is a lesson that I learned going through like a major life transition, like a divorce, but it could be anything for any other person. I think that it's important to allow yourself to give things to yourself that make you feel good. And one of those things for me was changing this room into an office and creative space. And one of the biggest elements, and you know, it might seem like such a small detail, but having this velvety chocolate rust brown chaise lounge is a little sanctuary for me. I sit here at the end of a long day, I open up my laptop, I go through my emails, and I just feel connected with myself in this space, and I can think clearly, and it's just like a really beautiful place to sit. I love that I have the little plants here. I love that the light is filtered when it comes through the linen curtains. It just feels good to give something to yourself. So this wallpaper is like a geometric print of peacock feathers, which represent luck. And I don't know if that's why Matthew, who is an amazingly talented designer who works with me, he chose this paper for me, and I really love it. It's actually peel and stick from Amazon. Sometimes when I work with clients who are not as emotionally aware of themselves, it presents a little bit of a challenge for me because I have to extract that information. But Oftentimes I find that it's not because they're not emotionally aware, it's because nobody has ever asked them the questions that I'm asking them, and they don't often have an opportunity to talk about themselves and their families in the way that we ask them to. So it's kind of an interesting unfolding of information, and you really get to know a lot about people and the way they see themselves and the way they see their spouses. And sometimes I interview a married couple who maybe will reveal new information that their spouse has never heard before, and it's kind of like, oh really, like I didn't know you felt that way about whatever it is. So it's kind of like opening a little box of surprises with clients, and I love that. This painting, I think that I bought this at either a West Elm outlet or Home Goods. I honestly don't remember, but it does feel a little bit like a self-portrait. And I do like to sit here with her behind me. There's something very quiet about it, but also like deeply feminine, and I really appreciate that. In my living space and also in the spaces that we design, I think that you'll see elements that are deeply feminine and then elements that are a little bit more rugged and masculine. It really depends on the space, who we're designing for, what the emotion of that space is. And you'll see that over my desk, which is like my workspace, the artwork that's hanging above the desk definitely has a more masculine and kind of gritty, rugged feel than the other spaces and the other artwork we've spoken about, which feel much more feminine and organic. I love horses for many reasons. I think that they carry a quiet, strong energy, and I love being outdoors, and I think that there's something really powerful about mountainscapes. So I chose these two pieces to go over my desk because this is where I feel like I'm more in my like masculine energy, kind of like running shit. I also really love this desk. This desk is from Four Hands. It's solid walnut. It has these really cool knobs that feel a little bit Scandinavian to me. I like that the entire desk is made of the same wood and that there's no like metal ornamentation on it. It's simple, but it's a very strong piece. Here's a little insight, some of my personal stuff. You will see again that I have some Golden Girls objects here that were gifted to me. My friend Phoebe, she has written many books, and you can see there's two of them up here. You Can't Touch My Hair and Everything's Trash by Phoebe Robinson. I don't read very often, but when I do, I'm reading Phoebe's books for the most part. These albums are my high school photo albums. I'm not going to open those up because we don't know what's in there. And I had a golden retriever. Her name was Dara. She was very near and dear to my heart. And you'll see a picture of her there. I think my sister got that for me. She's got little glasses on and I love it, so cute. And this is a vintage sign from a little town upstate New York called Andes, where I used to own a beautiful cottage, renovated that and sold it 2 years ago to an amazing family. This might surprise some people, but the way that I design my own space is different from what I do for my clients. Because I'm exposed to so many different elements, so many different vendors, lighting, furniture, like hundreds and hundreds of different options every day, every week, every month. Like I'm always being introduced to new product. It's so hard for me to create something in my own home that feels permanent. So I'm always changing things around, and for a long time, this apartment had very kind of like blank slate furniture, white on white, or, you know, I didn't really put up artwork because I'm looking at so many different things and I'm like, oh my God, I love that, I love that, I love that. And then I want to change it all the time and I have to really like stop myself from doing that. But like I said, after I got divorced, I really did do a deeper dive into this space to make it feel more permanent and more representative of who I am as a person. I'm sure in 6 months you can come back here and it will be different. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in South Brooklyn in a very loud Italian immigrant household. And my grandmother, my mother, my aunts, like the women in my family were super strong, super emotionally aware, and all of them are like fashion icons in their own right. And I think that watching them kind of like layer on their clothing and their jewelry and making themselves feel beautiful with what they're actually surrounded by kind of planted the seed in my mind of like how one could be influenced by their surroundings. Even like clothing and fashion to me is very similar to interior design. Like you're talking about fabrics and colors and texture and like how they layer one onto the next. So I think it's a very similar language, and that's kind of where I started to understand this idea that you could be influenced emotionally by what you're surrounded by. And yeah, I mean, my grandfather had a dress shop in Brooklyn on 18th Avenue. My mother worked for Kleinfeld Bridal. She still works there now. She was on that show, Say Yes to the Dress, and a lot of people know who my mom is. And so being fashionable and feeling good about what you look like and what you're surrounded by was always kind of part of my life with the women in my family. So I think that that really informed a lot about how I see my own space and also how I can affect other people's lives, my clients' lives, and make them feel good about getting up and being in their kitchen and kind of like touching beautiful things that they own every day. And I think that's just such an impactful thing to do. That's it for my office. And last but not least, I'll show you my bedroom. This is my bedroom, and I keep some of my favorite little objects in here. This is a clay sculpture artist that I bought these in Cordoba, Spain. I really, really love these. Again, you'll see these little female forms that I have scattered throughout my house, and they have paintings on the back and the front that I just think they're so interesting and so sweet. It's a little image of me and my bestie, Phoebe. This was our trip to Nice, and we had these fabulous sundresses on and thought it was like a great moment to take some glam shots. I framed this photo with FrameBridge. They are the best. They have these really cool pinstripe matting options, and I really love that. I think it adds a little texture. I think that bedding is probably one of the most important items to address, and maybe my clients are not always aware of this. I think that the bedding has to be natural fibers, either cotton, linen, silk. I don't like to use mattresses with cooling tops or gel infills that are not natural. So the bed to me is like a sacred space. I also try to avoid layering the bed with super heavy comforters. So the beds that you'll see that I've dressed for myself and for my clients usually have a layering system of thin blankets that are natural fibers. So this is a linen duvet, but I don't have a comforter in it. This is a cotton duvet, also no comforter in it. I really love these black lacquered nightstands from CB2. They feel luxurious. I have never had a black nightstand before because in my mind it felt harsh, but when I saw these, I really loved them. The lacquer reflects light, so it doesn't feel so dark and heavy, but it still has a little bit of like moody attitude to it that I love. I got this cheetah lamp from Anthropologie. I bought one for a client and I loved it so much, I bought a second one for myself. This little box is horn. Well, it's not real horn, it's fake horn, but I just love the bubbly shape. It's just so fun. And this is my little nighttime sanctuary space. This floor of this building happens to have very tall ceilings, and so I had the opportunity to get a very large piece of art over the bed, so I wanted to kind of direct your eye upwards, but I didn't want anything that felt heavy. I like this natural paper cutout, and I really love the natural oak frame, and it just feels kind of soothing to me, and I think it's appropriate for a bedroom. I really try to incorporate natural materials into all of my spaces. I think they age better with time. I think that they feel nicer to the touch. So this dresser is the Hudson dresser from West Elm. It's acacia wood, which I really love how this warms up the space. These boxes are, well, I think these are faux leather, but they do have a nice texture on them. Marble, I love to use natural marble bowls. I think this is so beautiful. And the lamp here also is a natural marble. And then you can see in every room there's these beautiful linen curtains, and I think that this makes the space feel kind of casual but still elevated and chic. My favorite thing about New York City is that even though I grew up here, I traveled a lot. Like, I went to school in Denmark, I lived in Miami for a stint because we had so many clients kind of running down to Florida with their heads on fire in 2021. I think my favorite thing about New York and about being a New Yorker is that she always draws you back. You can't leave. There is no leaving New York. Once you're here and you're spoiled, that's it. You're kind of stuck. And I mean that in like the best way possible. You know, I travel to other cities. I have clients on the West Coast, in Dallas, and the Carolinas, and in the Hamptons. And like, I love being New York based and being able to travel to all of those cities and see the different way that cities are organized and the way people live. But, you know, there's something about New York that's like a little bit gritty and a little bit glamorous at the same time, and I haven't seen that in another city. I think the definition of home is how you feel about yourself and within yourself. If you're comfortable and confident about who you are as a person, that is your home. And so you can go out into the world and always be home. That's like the emotional answer, and I think that that's the truest answer. If I put my design hat on as an interior designer, I think that the word home really represents a space that you can call your sanctuary, someplace that you walk in the door at the end of the day and like your shoulders immediately drop because you're comfortable and you're relaxed. And that could be a combination of things, you know, how the space feels, what it looks like, the colors of the walls. Maybe there's something like baking in the oven that reminds you of childhood. There's a lot of emotion that happens through our design process, and I like to be really, really aware of that. But I think at the end of the day, home is who you are as a person, and like being able to carry that around with you, you're always home.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.